Hi, Scott Whitley here, hope you're doing well. It's coming up to around 18 months since I first put the SWB-1 standard up for pre-order, and it was an incredible experience. Last year, 2016, something like 130 or 140 bases sold, and as you may or may not know, it was me that personally brought them all into the country, set every single base up individually myself, shipped every base out. It was an amazing experience, and what was incredible was to see how this little base that was my dream base was a lot of other people's dream base as well. So it was incredible to watch it grow. But at the same time, things became kind of slightly unworkable. I was touring a lot. I was teaching one-to-one, and I was literally working from sort of 6, 7 in the morning till 11, 12 at night every single day. It was just getting kind of nuts. I never saw my wife or my family, so I knew something had to give. And I spoke to my good friends at Chowny, and I've worked a lot with Stephen Chown from Chowny over the last couple of years, and after a few discussions, they were more than happy to take on board the SWB-1 base as a Chowny model. So it still retains my original design, and it's got my my logo on the headstock still, but it's now branded Chowny. And what this allowed us to do was to kind of develop the base a little further, because Stephen was already more established as a base manufacturer. We were able to develop the base and add a few kind of changes, a few improvements, some of which were in response to feedback from you guys, from customers, and others were things that I kind of really would have liked to have built into the base from day one, but for one reason or another it wasn't quite possible. So what I want to do just briefly in this video is just show you what these improvements are, and I do believe they are improvements. The first Scott Whitley branded SWB-1s were fantastic, and I'm really pleased with them. But I really believe we've kind of gone a step up in quality and in features. So let me show you. This is the solid ash version of the base. Now, the first thing you'll notice is the actual grain itself is beautiful. The ash is excuse me, it's a lighter colour. It's very similar to the kind of American sort of ash. So it's a very nice looking piece of wood. This is something that I was really keen on getting together, is a really nice kind of contoured neck joint there. Okay, so the original SWB-1s were kind of square. In fact, I've got one here. So that's the original neck joint. Okay. And now we've got, like I say, we've got this, which is beautiful. It's a lot, the access to the top frets is a little better. It looks nicer, really pleased with that. Another thing that I really, this was in response to customer feedback. A lot of people were saying, especially with it being a short scale base, they'd have liked to have seen, excuse me, through body stringing, to get that kind of break angle. Oddly enough, I've got front loading top loading strings on this. I'll explain that in a minute. But what we did, we went for through body stringing. Okay, let me just grab another one that is strung that way. Excuse me, frog in throat. So there you go, you can see the strings are going, hopefully you can see, straight through to the back. There's the ball ends in there, okay? And that allows there to be a sort of steeper, I think you would call it that, sharper break angle over these, which theoretically, kind of applies a little bit more pressure down on each saddle, and the vibrations from the strings transfer better into the body, and also you get that sort of sense of more tension, even though I don't think technically there could be. But it does seem to work. It seems to work very well. But we know that some people, and I'm one of those people, does kind of like the top loading thing. It sounds different. You get a tighter kind of tone. The highs seem to be more pronounced, and the mids, from what I can tell, when it's strung from the back. And when you top load it, like the other one is, let me get that back, which you can do, okay, the ball end's just going there. That gives you a much kind of a punchier, almost more kind of vintage tone. Again, this is to my ears, this is my own, from my own experimentation. I'm not saying I like one more than the other, but I just thought I'd give it a try on this bass. Now, you may or may not have noticed that each of the strings has its own individual bridge, and these are known as monorail bridges, normally found on very high-end boutique instruments. They have a distinct advantage over solid one-piece bridges in that they restrict sympathetic vibrations between the strings. So if you play one string, it's not going to set one of the other strings off vibrating. And this really comes into its own when you're playing chords, I find. So if you're playing kind of double stops or little chords high up the neck, you find that each of the notes of the chord rings through a lot clearer and is a lot less muddy. So there's another huge improvement on the Chowny SWB-1 over the original. Other things, the nut is a synthetic bone nut on these. I've got to be honest, it's a nicer nut than we had fitted on my original ones. It was just a standard plastic nut, and this it looks a bit more finished off, and it's a harder material. I know that because I've set a couple of these up for my own use, and when you're filing it is a harder material, so that's good. The tuners, you know, the tuners were fine on the first SWB ones for my use. Some people said they found there was a little bit of play. It was probably the thing that came back more than anything on the feedback was that they thought there was too much play in the tuners, and so we've got different tuners. These are much smoother and there's much less play in there. I'm trying to think. Aside from that, we're probably pretty much where we were. But only to say, production has moved now to India, and honestly, I just can't believe how well finished these are. If you get the chance to try one out, you know, they really are completely flawless. The neck pocket is super tight. The fretwork is beyond belief. You know, it's just amazing. I'm so happy that I hooked up with Chowny and decided to do business with them, really. So the only other thing that's kind of really changing is when I initially offered the bass, it was in mahogany, you know, natural mahogany or natural ash, and we're dropping mahogany from the range. There's various reasons for that. I only did it as an option in finish, if I'm honest. And so what's happening now is there's going to be more option for different finishes. I know there's this blue one that you've seen. Okay, they're in the natural ash, white, black. I think are now production colours. There's a tobacco sunburst, a tobacco burst, which looks absolutely stunning. So that's about it. Those are the changes to the SWB-1, the improvements, if you like. Really happy with them, as I say, and I'm sure you will be too. So check one out soon. Thanks for watching. See you later.